Welcome. It's Tuesday, November 8th, 2022, Election Day in the United States of America. My name is Joe Weston, and we're here for our online global practice for reviving the global heart. And yeah, that's always wonderful when people show up, people who have been coming on a regular basis to be as part of this community of people who are committed to a heart-centered and a human-centered approach to our lives, who understand and are practicing and are experimenting with the transformational power of the heart and understanding its wisdom, its power, its fortitude and its resilience and its courage, and holding space, as we all do, for a system that, whether it fights it or not, is on its way out, and a new system that has been emerging for quite a while. And in a sense, what I'm getting clearer on is that, and I write about this a lot in my book, Fierce Civility, which will be coming out in the next couple of months, that the seeds of our future, of our shared future, of our equitable future, of our peaceful future have already been planted. They already are here. It's just that the soil and the ground within which it has been planted is very hard, and it comes from our hard-heartedness. And it's getting harder in a sense. It's getting harder, more difficult, but it's also getting harder, the rigidity of how we're approaching ourselves and others in very binary, this or that, right or wrong, good or bad, win or lose kind of ways. And that the work that we're doing here with millions of other people and organizations around the world is simply to nurture and soften and fertilize that ground, to create the best conditions for these seeds which have already sprouted and are beginning, I believe, taking root, and just needs the proper circumstances and environment so that they don't get gobbled up or tread upon or cut away or pulled out too early. So it's just always an honor to be here and with the people who show up and the people who aren't necessarily here with us on the World Wide Web, who are holding space with us around the world as we gather to help implement this transition. And it's a tricky one at the moment, as we're seeing not only play out in the United States, we're seeing play out around the world, that and this is an important theme in the book, is as the uncertainty increases, as we get into that phase of the unknown, of letting go of the old before the new has emerged, it's a very frightening place. And if we don't have our skills to stay regulated and have faith and trust, like we've been talking about, what happens is we get confused and we get distracted and we get dysregulated, and we tend to get into patterns of holding on rigidly to what is familiar to give us some sense of security. What's unfortunate is that for many of us around the planet, these are false securities. These are securities that aren't necessarily serving us anymore, but we don't know what else to do. And as more of us can find a way to speak from our hearts and in our power with compassion and meet people where they are and not try to make people change before they're ready, we can help as nurturers and protectors to usher them to see that. But what we are seeing play out right now is the fearful anxiety of that uncertainty. And that's what this practice is, and what this community is that we cultivate resilience so that we can keep ourselves regulated and be able to stand face to face with honor and respect with challenges and meet them with compassion and with fierce compassion. And I have a deep, deep bow to all of you who are committed to this. And with a day like today in the United States, and as I hear just around the world, since it's now being presented in the news outlets throughout the world, I think I want to just actually read a little excerpt from the manuscript, give you a little preview of the book as a way of this is in the introduction, so I'm not giving away the punch. The the very, 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 very beginning. And if you don't mind, I'd just like to read some of it and just give you a sense, and then maybe I can say something or we can discuss. So let's see. How do we cope with our current volatile, disruptive, and extremely polarized world situation? This is something I contemplate every day when I'm bombarded, as we all are, with images of our precious forests burning, neighborhoods being washed away by floods and storms, extreme levels of vehement rhetoric and actions in our politics, people tragically dying, or lives being uprooted worldwide, either needlessly because of fear and anger, or sadly because of a lack of access to necessary resources, medicine, and care. In other words, our global heart, in other words, our global family, our human family, is not well. And that thus this idea of reviving the global heart, our human family is not well. Despite all of this, somewhere in the deepest alcove of my heart, hope still lingers, though it doesn't come easily these days. More often than not, it takes all of my energy, daily practices, and personal disciplines to remain optimistic in the midst of the messiness. But what gives me hope? I believe that yesterday, somewhere in the world, someone risked danger to pull a person out of a burning car and saved a life. I believe that this morning, somewhere in the world, someone brought breakfast to a neighbor whom they know is struggling to pay the bills. I believe that in the middle of the night, somewhere in the world, someone texted a severely depressed person in despair, thereby pulling this individual from the brink of suicide. I believe that last week, somewhere in the world, someone chose to not flush their toilet that one time, conserving 2 gallons or 7.5 liters of fresh water. And I believe that today, somewhere in the world, someone will muster the courage to say to another in the heat of an argument, now that I can see this issue from your perspective, I'm willing to consider shifting my viewpoint on this. I have no proof of any of this, and yet I still believe. Why? First, I trust the odds. With more than 7.5 billion people on the planet, the probabilities are favorable that at least one person every day commits an act of kindness like the ones mentioned above. By far, more of us are naturally considerate of another than careless and cruel. It's how we've always managed to survive. Second, I have faith in the resilience of the human spirit, which gifts us with the capacity to adapt and grow. I have faith in the persevering power of what I consider to be our highest common guiding principles of respect, dignity, being valued, belonging, freedom, and collaboration. Thirdly, I believe that enough people on this planet, despite their biases and blind spots, indignation and impulse for self-preservation, trauma histories, and personal interpretation of world events, still prefer to see the human family achieve some sense of lasting peace, along with relative economic and social freedom and equity for all. This critical mass of individuals wants effective solutions to address the rising forms of extremism and a global effort to change the trajectory of Earth's climate shifts, if not for themselves, then for their children and their grandchildren. So just wanted to share that. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
I find it very hopeful to think of the things, the kindness that's going on that we may or may not know about. Knowing that it's possibly happening and I can contribute to it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
On similar lines, Christine, I like when you emphasize that you believe you don't have any proof of these things happening, but somehow internally, you know, you are convinced that this is happening. You, of course, you wrote it more eloquently, but but the meaning is that there is a conviction that something is going on, even if I don't see it every day, and that's profound. I like that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And it touches me. I can feel your struggle in the words. Sometimes you want to believe it and you have no proof and you don't give up believing it. But it's hard work because the signs outside and maybe even in your own small surroundings, things look different. Watch TV, when we see the things happening in America, I think, oh, what's happening over there? And you see the war and all the other things. And even in the war and in the elections with you, there are just little seeds that you can see. Oh, yes, it's proof. It's a proof of things are going to be better. But it takes a whole long time and a whole lot of time of trust and struggle. And that's touching. It's our 10th sentence, I think, but I can feel how you struggle with believing it and staying believing it.
Thank you.
Oh. De bril beslagen.
Yeah, and it was interesting. I actually did some research to how many car accidents are there in a given day around the world. So I really looked at the statistics and how many people are saved from burning cars. You know, that you can, you know, just gathering that. And when you think of it that way, that you have to think that at least one person, that happens at least once a day when you've got 7.5 billion people, because there's a lot of car accidents, right, that are fatal, and people in cars that are burning. So, and I imagine there must be people who pull them out. So just if you think about it logically, that it has to be so. That sometimes, and I think that's the point, sometimes it's just faith. I just have to have faith that this is true, and sometimes statistically it is true. Or the conclusions are that statistically it must be true.
Yeah.
And it feels like it's important for me right now to continue to do this, to continue particularly looking at the news, and particularly on a day like today, to remember that millions of people who are going to vote today are good people, are kind people, are compassionate people, and that, you know, maybe some of them might pull a person out of a burning car, but that they certainly would bring breakfast if they knew a neighbor was hungry. I would like to believe that would happen, and many other acts of kindness that I didn't mention. And I think it's important for me, at least, to remember that as I think about the next 12 hours or so here in the United States, that there are millions and millions of intelligent, smart, aware people who are going to vote. And that's in Holland as well. That's in Italy. That's in other parts of the world. That you know, even though certain results may not express that based on majority, that there are good people going to vote. And that's an important thing that you hear a lot in spiritual communities, and we've even talked about, I think I mentioned before, because I think even Tim knows the exact percentage, that it doesn't have to be everyone. It just needs to be enough to help shift the perspective, enough to soften the ground on which these seeds are growing and taking root. Just needs to be enough. It doesn't need to be everyone. Like a tipping point.
Yeah.
I believe that is emerging, particularly even though we may get distracted, you know, in our you know, the younger generations. I think there's just a certain level of value system of understanding these principles. So I wanted to share that. I wanted to share that as something to, particularly on this day, to remember that that we can have faith, and we can also rely on statistically the goodness and the kindness of human beings. And that I don't think that, and regardless of whatever happens, that even if it seems like the flame of that goodness and kindness of humanity and the human spirit gets very, 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 very dim, I don't think it will ever go out. That I truly trust. I may not have hope always completely in what's emerging right now from a temporary perspective.
Yes.
I do have hope in the overall human spirit, and that flame will never go out. Hank, did you say the same thing? I heard you respond, so.
My response is that we shouldn't despair, because even when there are things going in the wrong direction, they can always be turned around.
Yeah. So let's take that into our practice. Finding a way to sit where your spine is straight without being rigid. So that we can maximize, even in this posture, one of the goals of this practice, which is cultivating presence, awareness, balance, and flow. And you can see one of our four-leggeds stretching their spine to come into posture. Wonderful. Finding a way to so sitting in this posture, relax your jaw, relax your shoulders, relax your belly. Bringing your full attention to your core and your lower belly, the width of 3 fingers below your navel, 1/3 of the way into the body, from the front of the body. Your center of impulse, gut wisdom, perceiving, personal power, awareness. We're starting with that connection with your personal power, bringing you into your body. From your core, become aware of your contact points, the parts of your body that are connecting with what you're sitting on and the ground. Feeling the pressure that is being created by gravity as your body continues to drop in to the ground in the chair. Feeling that sense of being held. Let yourself be held. And as you connect with the ground, imagine sinking in to being held by the earth. And just once again, remembering that according to science, that the earth has been around for 4 billion years. This temporary moment we're in now, putting that into perspective. Imagine just what the earth has seen in those 4 billion years. This is just one moment in our human history that the earth is witnessing now. One of many experiences. From your center, become aware of your physical body. Let your physical body speak to you, giving you valuable information for what's unfolding in this present moment. From your center, become aware of your emotional body. What emotions are flowing through you right now? Knowing that your emotions are temporary as well. Remember definition that I use, I borrow from Tai Chi, is that emotions are energy in motion, which implies that they're always temporal. Allow them to flow. From your center, become aware of your thoughts. Just like your emotions, your thoughts are also temporary, temporal, in flow. Letting go of the rigidity of the emotions or holding on to them and the thoughts, and just let them flow. Bringing awareness, maintaining connection with your core as you bring awareness to the middle of your chest, to your heart center. Where compassion resides, respect, connection. Feeling in your heart how active and how empowered is the flame of hope within your heart right now. Hope and possibility, expansion. And with your awareness of your core, your personal power and your heart, become aware of that part of you which has connection with something larger than yourself. And as you connect with that part of you which connects with something larger than yourself, open up to that connection in this moment. From that perspective of 4 billion years of this planet being in existence, or whatever that is, that which is larger than yourself, in that connection, how much are you feeling that now? And how much hope is in that? And possibility. And does that ignite more of that flame in your heart? And with this awareness, now let that flow out into your personal space, out towards the boundaries of your personal space, filling your space with that sense of spaciousness, possibility, hope, perspective. And with this awareness of yourself in this present moment, take a full breath in, really deep, in through your nose, out through your mouth. Holding on to this sense of that activation in your heart, flame in your heart of hope, possibility, extending that out now to your surroundings, anchoring yourself in the here and now, in your personal space, or your surroundings, in all directions. Igniting even your surroundings with that sense of possibility and hope. And with that awareness from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in. Building on your connection with this present moment from your center and from your heart, become aware of those in this meditation circle. Using the World Wide Web to connect with those who are online now from various parts of North America, Europe, those who may not be online with us but are connecting with us around the world. From your center and from your heart, maintaining that, or aware of your own level of activation and of that flame in your heart of hope and possibility. Can that activate? Can you sense that flame in each one of us who are in this circle of holding space in this way? Considering the statistical improbability of this group coming together, of all the human beings around the world. committed to this act of kindness. If we can do this, there has to be others. With that awareness of self, surroundings, and those in this meditation circle, from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in. Now expanding that awareness as we maintain our connection with ourselves, our surroundings, and particularly those in this meditation circle, combining our heart flames with one another of hope and possibility. From your center and from your heart, become aware of all human beings, beginning with those human beings you would label loved ones. And as always, who arises in your heart? How many arise in your heart? And what faces do you see? Groups of people. Hope's expanding the capacity of, and resilience and fierceness in your heart to hold more beings in your heart, starting with loved ones. Igniting, keeping your heart, the flame in your heart, perhaps as you connect with them with honor and respect, igniting the flame of hope and possibility in their hearts. And just imagine with each and every loved one that you are connecting with now that they must have at least one time in their lives committed an act of kindness. They must have, and honor them for that. As we continue to connect the flames in our hearts now from your center and from your heart, become aware of those human beings you would label adversary. Let's try that for a moment. Who arises in your heart? What faces do you see? How many can you hold in your heart at this moment? Maintaining your level of the flame in your heart of hope and possibility. Reinforcing your safety, your personal boundaries. Perhaps in some way igniting theirs. And to consider that even these people, at least once in their life, have committed an act of kindness. At least once. And honor that. And now from your center and from your heart, become aware of those you would label stranger. How many can you hold in your heart at this moment? Even if you can't hold all of them, just in this moment, considering the 7.5 plus billion. And with your flame in your heart of hope and possibility, somehow igniting theirs. And to consider that at least pretty much almost every one of them must have committed at least one act of kindness in their lives. Even if they are 2.5 months old and they looked into the eyes of someone with a big smile and caused someone else to have a smile, that's an act of kindness, even a 2.5-month-old. And with this sense of hope and possibility ignited in your heart and in the hearts of all human beings, regardless of how you label them as loved one, stranger, or adversary, from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in. Imagine this flame now being activated and trusting that while it might sometimes roar with ferocity in some ways, sometimes it might get very dim and small, to consider the idea that it will never go out. With that, allowing all human beings to flow into your heart. Noticing what that does to the flame of your heart as you bring your awareness back to those in this meditation circle. Allowing those in this meditation circle to flow into your heart as you bring your awareness back to your surroundings. Allowing your surroundings to flow into your heart as you bring your awareness back to yourself. And in this moment, with the flame of your heart ignited with hope and possibility, just take a moment to consider at least one act of kindness you have done sometime in your life. Consider that you may have done 10. Consider that you may have done 100 kind things in your life to this point, maybe 1,000, maybe 1,000,000. And to think of all the acts of kindness you can commit from this moment on, perhaps millions. And allow that to sift through your body, taking one final breath to anchor that in. And noticing the impact of this practice energetically or emotionally in different ways, allowing that to ignite every one of your cells, enlivening every one of your cells, flowing into your organs to heal and nurture, restore your organs. Flowing into your nervous system is a way to remember this. And lastly, letting it flow into your core like a battery, charging your battery, cultivating resilience. Knowing with a full battery, the ease within which you can commit acts of kindness in any moment without any sense of being depleted or run down. With this, just because I like breathing, let's take one more breath in. When you're ready, slowly open your eyes. Look around the room. Shake your body, stretch your body. So we started with our motivation. I appreciate your patience and to allow me to read a little excerpt from my upcoming book. We had a little discussion around kindness and about human beings. We did our practice, and then we have a chance to reflect. Golden, it's great to have you join us. Just to share that. Anybody want to share what your experience was in the practice or more reflections on our discussion?
Yeah, I like to share my experience. When we connected to something larger than ourselves, I could feel a great, huge connection. And it looks like I was within a gas station, and I got fuel in my head, and the fuel was trust.
Mm.
And you are talking about faith, and I could feel we need to do it, and the greater part of us trust us to do it. And that's why we can do it. And that's why you have to do it. And not because we must do it, but when you have faith and you can trust yourself and your energy, because it's not only your energy, you get it from another part of universe, you're not alone to do it.
Mm.
We're not alone, but even when you do it on your own, you're not alone. And that trust gives the seeds water and sunshine and all the ways you need to grow. Maybe I say it a bit complicated, but that's what and that was very touching, because I'm not alone. We're all not alone.
Yeah. Thank you. And what to me was that wasn't complicated. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, I started feeling overwhelmed when you talked about one act of kindness or 100 acts of kindness. And if I multiply that by even the people in this Zoom right now, that's a lot.
Mm.
And like you said, there's 7+ billion people on the planet. And I thought of Vladimir Putin doing something kind.
Mm.
That was a wake-up call, so to
Mm.
speak. And I also like the word kindfulness. You've probably heard the word mindfulness, which is pretty mental.
Yeah.
But I like the word kindfulness because it's about the heart.
Mm.
You know, an open heart and an open mind are a helpful way to live.
Mm. Thank you, Christine. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Very wise. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you. It's great to hold space with you today. Yeah, take this with you and bring this into your practice, and to consider that when you're feeling discouraged, or you feel like you know, maybe that you feel like you're not doing enough or don't have enough power to do things, do that little inventory. Just, you know, sometimes mathematics helps. That statistic, you know, the number of kind things you must have done in your lifetime. And maybe that can ignite your heart, the flame in your heart for hope and possibility, and remind you that you are powerful, the transformational power of the heart. And to consider how exciting it can be to even mathematically or making some assignments for yourself. You know, I'm gonna you know, I didn't make this up. Everyone talks about that. And every day, do random acts of kindness, right? So that's how this works.
I just want to comment something, Joe. Yeah, the amplification that you obtain by mathematically process all of this is really empowering, but just witnessing one act of kindness is so profound that you don't need numerical support.
Yeah.
And I always remember one day that I was walking into this room where I am now and looked through the window. It was early morning and I live in a cul-de-sac, so I can see the street, and the neighbor on the left, very old lady, fitted old lady, went across the street with her robe to grab the newspaper that was on the street and put it inside the door or closer to the door of the across the street neighbor. And I just was witnessing that. And it was one act, 30 seconds, but I said, I love to live here. This is fantastic. So yeah, I don't need to multiply it. It's fulfilling, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's one thing, but it's wonderful.
And I think that's the bottom line, is that we've been so bombarded with having to focus on things that aren't kind, right? So that we forget. And so it's the choice of where we're putting our attention. I think that's the emphasis, is to redirect. And that in itself, I would say, is a revolutionary act, to commit acts of kindness and to direct our attention towards others who are doing the same. And at least remembering that in our story that we create about what our current world system is going through. And this is what softens the hard-heartedness and the rigidity of separation, of fear, of anxiety, of suspicion. And this is what softens the hardness of the soil, so that the seeds that have already been planted and are beginning to grow have space to blossom, to fully grow and blossom. All right, so let's dedicate this. Let's dedicate that this sense, all the energy we've generated with this practice, igniting our flames with hope and possibility, with this remembrance of the number of good, kind people who are going out to vote today. That there are millions of them. May they be empowered to follow their hearts and wisdom. Feel safe, cared for, and that this ripples out throughout the world in future elections or future ways of approaching governance. igniting the hearts of hope and possibility, kindness and compassion, resilience. And may all beings on this planet have enough fresh water and food, fresh water to drink and food to eat. And may all governments and world leaders govern from a place of wisdom, mindfulness and kindfulness, compassion, instead of greed and fear. Okay, thank you all. And have a wonderful week. We'll gather again next week. We'll see where we go there in our discussion. But be well, take care of yourselves, and look forward to seeing you next week.
Bye. Take
Bye
care.
bye.
Bye bye. Thank you all.